From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today on You Should Know. And my guest today is Todd Fuqua, and he is actually an employee here at Eastern, works for the foundation, and is a board member of the Meals on Wheels. So welcome, Todd. Nice to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Lynn.
I didn't get your whole title.
It is, well, you mean my title at the university. It's Public Relations and Design Associate. That's for the Eastern Mexico University Foundation.
And I know that you're very instrumental in the one with the Green Silver magazine.
The Green and Silver magazine, I put that together. In fact, I'm working on the next one right now. But also the calendar that we send out to donors, invitations for homecoming. We just had homecoming last week. I do the program for that. Lots of work, that kind of work. Yes.
Okay, and a graduate of Eastern. You want to give us a little bit of your background?
I am a graduate of Eastern, 1993 grad specifically, and I was a comm major.
Okay.
And so I did this kind of thing, but at the old building. And I was a student co-host and producer of Sports Look with the late, great Dallin Sanders. And I also was a anchor, sports anchor on Scene 3 News.
Before it was news.
It was called then. And
I take it you're not happy.
Well, whatever. But I also was a technical director. So I was in the studio 3-4 times a week.
So you've just kind of came home almost.
Pretty much.
Just in a new building.
Oh, well, I mean, I was born and raised here. My father was the director of admissions and he was the registrar, and I was practically born and raised on this campus.
You were raised on the campus in offices somewhere.
Yes, I was, yes. And now my office is across this hall from the registrar office. So, I'm home.
I knew you said you worked elsewhere for about 25 years and then came back to Eastern. Well, to Eastern.
I worked at KVII-TV for a short period of time. Came back, worked on, tried grad school, that didn't work out. Got into newspapers, worked at the Portales News Tribune, the Clovis News Journal, the Roswell Daily Record, the Ruidoso News, the Ruidoso Free Press. Had my own business for a while, and that all of that for 25 years I was a print guy, and that worked out to me being able to find the job that I have now.
Well, good. Well, I kind of did the same thing. Did a career elsewhere and then landed back here.
Sure.
So,
yep.
So you're very involved in Meals on Wheels, and that's a program that is very close to my heart. So tell me what brought you into that.
Well, my mom, and I think it was through the church, but my mom helped with Meals on Wheels, and I helped her deliver once or twice. This is when I was in high school, so we're talking the mid to late 80s. Long time, 35, 40 years ago.
Sure.
And I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. And when I came back here, especially coming out of COVID, of the lockdowns and everything, I realized now is my time. I am going to give back to the community. I'm going to do something. And I thought, Meals on Wheels makes sense. So I just showed up to one of their meetings one day. It's like, look, I just want to volunteer. I don't know what I can do. I want to help deliver, raise funds, however. And within a year, I was on the board.
They took advantage of that.
Yes. So be careful when you volunteer, kids.
Oh, no.
You might get more than you bargained for.
No, I know a lot of people that serve on that board have a little bit of seasoning to them. So definitely need people to come back in.
Yes, and that was another thing. I'm in my early 50s, and I know that's old. And I'm really young, actually.
Compared.
And it's nice, though, that we do have a couple of guys that are actually younger than me on the board.
Very nice, very nice.
So that's a good sign.
So your mom kind of instilled that in you and got you going.
Well, yeah, she was a teacher, and so was her mom. And so was her granddad, and so are two of my uncles. Teaching and education has always been a big part of my life, and that kind of it's very. You have to be a certain type of person to be able to teach for a living. I'm not necessarily that type of person, but it did inspire me to give to others to
help
work
out.
hard. And yes.
Well, I did a little bit of research, and we talked about this Meals on Wheels. I read back it's a countrywide program and actually started about 1954.
Ron, probably.
And I believe it said that going to their website, said they provide meals to 2.1 million seniors,
I believe it.
and that's pretty amazing.
I believe it. We have right now 5 different routes, and I think that's approximately 4 to 5 different people each route that we do every single week, weekdays,
Right,
Monday through Friday that we
right.
deliver. So that's between 25 and 30 meals that we deliver daily
And
to
I
people.
couldn't find the history of when it started in Portales, but if you said that
At very
when,
least 30 years,
yeah,
35 years when I was in high
because you
school.
remember it being
Certainly.
here. So, and it's tell me this, so the meals that are delivered, how does someone that is thinking that they need this service, how do they go about, and basically you said they deliver meals 5 days a week
5 days on weekdays,
on
yes.
weekdays.
With some exceptions, when we have
Sure.
Indigenous Peoples Day or Labor Day or something like that, because it's Roosevelt General Hospital that supplies our meals,
Hmm.
and we're subject to their schedule.
Oh, so
So it's
their
the
staffing.
RGH Cafe, right?
Hmm.
It's the same food that you get there that we serve to
Right.
our clients. And if somebody wants to get involved, or donate, or look into getting meals for
Hmm.
themselves, they can call a phone number. I don't have it with me right
Oh,
there, but you've got it.
I do have
I
it.
believe you've got
There's
it
actually
right
a
there.
number that it's 575-760-9680,
Mhm.
and that actually will get you in touch with someone.
That will. And you mentioned the website. We have a social Facebook page, which we will update as things change as well. So you can go
Sure.
to just look up Meals on Wheels Portales on
Hmm.
Facebook, and you'll be able to find us. And
Right. That's what I
yeah.
did,
Hmm.
and went in there and started reading and knew some of the premises. So the meals come from the hospital, so they
Right.
do meet dietary
Oh yes,
needs.
and there's all sorts of dietary restrictions that we have to deal with, and we had a discussion about that in our meeting we had last week. How do we do this? There's a
Hmm.
card that you fill out. If you have anything, dairy restrictions or anything else, you fill that out, and they make sure that they fulfill that they meet those standards. So I've delivered meals, and it'll say on you get a sheet, and it'll say no dairy, no this, no that, no sodium, and you make sure that you've got the right one. So they
Yeah.
they do work hard on it.
They do, and I know the RGH has just started providing the meals in May. Is that correct? I believe
Yes,
earlier this year,
yes.
and I worked at the hospital for a lot of years, and they do have their cafeteria is very good, and the food is good, and I'm excited to have that change
Well,
for the people that are receiving the dinners.
RGH Cafe puts the lie to the myth that hospital food is bad.
It
It's
does.
really good. And there
It
was
does.
one time I was delivering, and the meal that day was pulled pork sandwiches. And I was delivering it, and I thought, oh, that looks so good. And because it's usually what we're delivering is whatever is on the menu at the
Hmm.
RGH Cafe
Sure,
that particular day.
sure.
So I was like, I got to try
I
this
gotta
out.
have
So
that.
I did my deliveries. I came back. I put the trays out, and I gave the thing back to Glenn, and I ordered myself some food, and it was really good.
Yeah, they do a nice job. They
Yeah,
do a nice
and we've
job,
not had any well, we might have 1 or 2 complaints about it being too good. We've actually had that?
we would like some extras,
Yes, yes,
but
but no one has ever said, "Oh, this is the worst food I've ever." No, not since we've been,
uh,
the entire time that we've been with Roosevelt General Hospital, everyone's loved the food there.
and the service, so the meal, the coordination with that, and getting all that put together, and your coordinator on that is that still Cora Stroud that does that?
Cora Stroud is our president at the moment.
Okay,
That's going to change. We just had a slate election last week to change that. Larry Teal, who is our
okay.
who's our vice president right now, he
Great
will be
guy,
president.
great guy.
We got Chris Christensen, who's our legal counsel. He's going to be our vice president. We have Charles Brooks on the board as our finance
Okay.
manager. Um, I am the secretary. That's why I know all this stuff because I have to write it down. Um, and we've got a wonderful man named Glenn McCoy. I'm sure a lot of people will remember that name as the director of the Baptist Student Union many years ago. He's in his 90s, and
He's still
he's still going, and he is a dynamo when it comes to this stuff.
this.
He coordinates the routes. He makes sure that everyone gets their food where they need to be. He makes sure that everyone that
That's great.
volunteers to deliver gets there on
It's a
time.
lot of
Yeah,
work. I
yeah.
mean, people depend on that meal of taking their medications, and that may be a big portion of the only meal that they may really have of a day. you know, if their abilities are to cook or shop and things, they depend on this meal
Yes, yes.
in a huge way.
And it's more than just that. It's the fellowship.
It is.
You are maybe the only visitor that they have that particular day. And so when I would deliver, I be cordial. Be
Oh,
You've got other deliveries to make, but you can't stay there forever. But you want to talk to them. You're not just here to deliver and go.
sure.
I
And
try to have a conversation while I'm doing it.
well, it's a wellness check
Yeah,
and it's socialization that they may not get. And so who delivers the meals? Who all do you get to deliver?
volunteers, and this is again, you can call that number to volunteer if you
Okay.
like. That's what I did. I just showed up and said, I'll
Yeah.
deliver if I want, if I can. Um, Organizations will have organizations, businesses, uh, fraternities can show up and just to get their community service in. It's a great way to do that. Um, and if something falls through and the volunteers, we don't, we've had that on a few
Mhm.
routes. Guess who gets to deliver?
Well,
It's
someone's
the
going to be
board
sick or
members.
something's going to come up. There's
Something
going to be
happens, sure, and
emergencies.
that's where we fill
But
in the
you've still got it.
stopgaps.
So that dedication to the program is tremendous.
Hmm.
And I know I shared this as I delivered on Christmas Eve, and it was one of the best and one of the hardest things I've ever done in my days because I knew I went home to family for the rest of the holidays, and I may have been the only person they saw.
Yeah.
It fell on a week, like the Friday before a weekend, and it touches your heart. It makes you feel very blessed for what you have, but it's also a blessing to be able to maybe help somebody in a small way
Yeah, and
through
that's
that.
that's part of what drove me to help with
The
this too.
comfort of food and just a
Comfort of
person.
food, comfort of fellowship.
Hmm.
Let them know that they're not alone.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
So, how much do the meals cost?
they are approximately $4 a meal per person. So that equates out to about $80 a month if you're doing 5 days
Hmm.
a week. And yes, they're not free, and the clients we want them to pay, but we're not heartless. If something happens and they can't
Hmm.
quite pay, we can help with the shortfall. We can have them pay whatever they are able to pay. I mean, we work with them. It's not like we're going to just shut them out. But at the same time, we have to be realistic. This does cost us
The
money.
program has to be
Yeah.
paid for too. And I know there's a little bit, not really much funding from really none, state and federal, but you do get some funding through United Way.
Some from United Way. In fact, as an employee of Eastern, they
Hmm.
encourage us to make
Sure.
donations to the United Way, and they can designate which
Right.
one you want to. And I put down Meals on Wheels
Hmm.
because that's who I work for. So there is that, and we are always fundraising from various corporations and companies and
Right.
individuals, and we've been pretty successful. So I'm very happy to report that the community here is very generous when it comes to this.
That's cool
The overhead isn't a whole lot, which is nice, but it's
because it's
also,
volunteer.
yes, but it's also nice to get these donations so that if there is a shortfall, if there is a client that can't pay, well, it's going to have to be paid for anyway. We can pay for it. Just to try not to make that a habit is all.
Well, I know a great way to do that too is you can actually sponsor, whether that's one meal or a week's worth of meals or however often. And you said that people can actually go to JP Stone Community Bank and go to a teller and say, I want to make a contribution to Meals on Wheels.
Yes, we just started doing that, and any teller you want, and you don't necessarily have to have an account. That's where we have our account. That's
Hmm.
where Meals on Wheels has its account. So you can just go to
Okay.
any teller there, say, I want to donate to Meals on Wheels. You give them a check, cash, however, and they'll just deposit it right into our account.
Well, I'm such a proponent of this program. And also, there's actually an address that you can send a check directly to, and it's P.O. Box 782 here in Portales, and that's 88130. So there's different ways. Call and volunteer,
Hmm.
sign up your service organization, make a donation, support the program, or, just if you have a loved one that needs to have these meals.
Yes,
Give
yes.
that phone number 760-9680 and they'll get you connected.
Or if you go to the website or to
Right.
the
The
Facebook page,
Facebook page.
I have answered messages that people have left on that page as well, and
Sure. Okay.
we've been able to connect with people that way too. So we have lots of ways to get in touch with us.
Well, and holidays are a tough time, and so any time of the year is a tough time for elderly folks
Yeah.
that are in this position. So it's a great program. Appreciate you helping out with it, and lots of ways to volunteer and get involved in that and
Yes.
help you guys
It
out.
makes you feel better when you do something good like this. It really
Well,
does.
awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
Todd, and thank you for everything that you do for the community
Thank you
and for
for
Eastern.
having me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
And now, joining me in the studio, I have the pleasure of having John Hauser with me. He is the Assistant Vice President at Eastern New Mexico University of Marketing and Communications. John, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Definitely, definitely. So let's take, I know we're going to look at the products that we have that are branded for Eastern, but let's talk about you for a minute. Tell me a little bit about John Hauser.
Well, I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Moved out here to New Mexico in 2006. Was working at New Mexico State in their athletic department there. Spent 4 years doing that. Met my wife down there in Las Cruces in 2009. She was actually living up here getting her master's degree. So I started doing the 4-hour drive from Las Cruces up here to lovely Portales back then. And then I moved to Abilene, Texas, and worked at Abilene
Okay.
Christian University in their athletic department for 4 years there. Got married to my wife. I spent another year and a half actually driving up here again from the West Texas side of things till we got married. And then I moved her to Texas, and we ended up having our first child there in Abilene. And, every time I drive back across the border to go see her
Ah,
parents in Hatch, I'd always get the, oh, my heart's back
uh,
every time we cross the
get into
border.
New Mexico.
So I knew at some point I had to move back to New Mexico. And in 2015, the opportunity came open to become the director of communication services here
Great.
at Eastern. So we moved back here in 2015. And I was moved up in the fall of 2018 to an assistant vice president here at marketing and communications. So
That's great.
I've been here ever since. So.
Cool, cool. Very nice. And New Mexico is a pretty nice place to be.
Oh, I love it. I
So
mean, 80 degrees in the end of October was great,
not bad.
out here.
Not
Yes.
not bad. Nice falls and not too severe of winters, not like Ohio.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I think we might get to keep you for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So tell me what we're going to talk. The main part of what we're talking about is branded products for Eastern.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Well, back in, we were coming out of COVID,
Mhm.
and, I wanted to find ways to partner with businesses to help support local businesses or regional businesses in New Mexico to help them recover from COVID while also, improving our branding in the state of New Mexico. And we ended up watching what I always watch what the other colleges do. And all of a sudden, New Mexico State came out with a branded wine with D.H. Lescombs out of Deming. And I go, well, I know the director of sales down there. Let me give her a call and see how we do this. And she goes, oh, well, we're with New Mexico State's with the Collegiate Licensing Company. So we just got in a license with them and we're able to sell their wine. And I go, oh, that's easy enough. We're with the Collegiate Licensing Company. Let me go talk to Dr. Caldwell. And we talked about it. And she said, John, let's pursue it. And, 9 months later, after going through all the hoops and everything, we launched Eastern Sunrise Wine with D.H. Lescombs.
Well, let's take a look at that real quick. So this is actually our wine that we have, and let's see. There you go. And who did the graphics on this? Was that
That
something
was
here?
ENMU alumni, and he was our graphic designer at the time. Brian Hahn did that.
Great, great. That's nice, and that's actually bottled by one of our local.
D.H. Lescombs is who. It's the biggest New Mexico winery. They bottle it out of Deming, New Mexico. It's for sale in every Lescombs location around the state. I found it in Las Cruces before when I was down there last year. You just walk in and it's on their shelves. It's at Farmers Country Market here in Portales.
Okay.
And then also we have it available online if you want to ship it. Basically, I think you can ship it almost anywhere in the United States by just going to enmu.edu/Eastern Sunrise.
Okay. Okay, we'll give that out again before we close out. Your next product that you came up with was actually the Greyhound Grind.
Yep, the
So
coffee. Yeah, that one was one of those where we were still watching, what New Mexico State was doing, and
that's
they
cool.
came out with a coffee, and I said, okay, they're coming out with a coffee, and The issue I had with it was they went with a vendor out of California. And I went, well, wait a second. There's some great,
There's
coffee
good coffee
people
right here.
here in New Mexico. So I picked up the phone, called Red Rock Roasters in Albuquerque, and said, "Hey, are you guys interested in this?" And her response is, "Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to do this to produce, an Eastern branded coffee." And that actually came out before Eastern Sunrise, and um, it was our first product that we launched in the summer of 2021. And again, they're a New Mexico True company. We
That's
partnered
great.
with them. They're out of Albuquerque. It supports a business in New Mexico. We advertise it to we advertise it out to all of our alumni and friends, and it just helps to support their businesses while also helping to support Eastern New Mexico University.
Great, great. Well, any money that comes in and goes to support scholarships and things like that.
Yes.
So it's a
So yeah,
beneficial.
the way it's set up is that 12% of every one of these products that's sold goes back to support
Great.
scholarships at ENMU. So if you buy a $20 bottle of wine, a $15 thing of coffee,
Hmm.
or we'll show some other products, a $4 item, or
Well,
if you buy a T-shirt,
well,
12% goes back to
well,
Eastern.
let's look at this one too. We've got popcorn, and
Yeah, it's
this
caramel pistachio popcorn from Heart of the Desert.
great. So that's a good one. I've actually been to their place, and they have some nice things. So the popcorn, and then also pistachios, which are amazingly good.
Yeah,
So
it's garlic and green chili pistachios. Those are for sale online at enmu.edu/heart of the desert. The
okay,
ENMU bookstore carries those, or you can go down to, of course, the Big Heart, not the big pistachio, but the Big Heart
the big
there.
heart. We have one other one, and as you can see, the package is still closed. I didn't get into it, even though I wanted to. But it's tell me the name of this. It's got an interesting name.
It's the ENMU Victory Cookie. It's done by Snuggle Cubs Cookies. That's in Albuquerque. They're a New Mexico True company, um, and basically they are. You look at it and it's a cinnamon pecan with dates, and you're like, "Ooh, I don't know,"
I've never heard of that.
but it's unbelievable. We have had it requested by the HED Secretary Stephanie Rodriguez. Actually, told Dr. Johnston back in like February. He goes, "Hey." I'd really like these cookies if you can get me some of them. So I had to like call and get them specially delivered to her because she liked them so much. So it's a great opportunity there,
Well,
partnering with another New Mexico True company.
that one may not go home. It may wind up with a cup of coffee staying
Yeah,
here.
and that one's available at enmu.edu/cookie, or you
Okay.
can go to the bookstore if you're here in town, and they have them for sale there.
And the wine is the only thing that's not sold at the bookstore, right?
Right, because they can't
Okay.
sell alcohol, but you just go right across the street to Farmers Country Market,
And you
and it's
got it.
right there because they carry all the New Mexico products there.
Cool. And I know you've had naming contests and things like that, and community involvement, bringing people in
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean, we
participate.
put it out to our community, students, alumni, friends to name these
Hmm.
products, and that's how they've been named. It's all been suggestions from our student base, our alumni, and friends, and people like that.
Great, great. Well, we're winding down, but I love that you showcase these, and this would make great gift baskets or gifts for any occasion, whether it's a graduation or Valentine's or Mother's Day or any type of Christmas, Thanksgiving. Those are great things to have. So money back to the scholarships and supporting Eastern New Mexico University.
Exactly, yeah, and we encourage everybody. There's a salsa, there's a beer, there's a cocktail, and we're working on other products as well that
Great.
are out there.
Okay, great, great. Well, get online and then also just go to those local retailers. Get out there and look at these. Everybody, hopefully, get out there and look at these products. So, thank you. And to all of our viewers out there, thank you for watching us today, and we will see you next time on You Should Know. Cheers.